If you found $100 on the street, would you pick it up or keep walking? Of course you take the money. So why do you keep picking winners and not betting on them? That's why I go to MyBookie. It's fast, it's easy, and they pay you when you win. Let's face it, guys, where you're betting is just as important as who you're betting on. So do the smart thing this football season. If you're going to bet with MyBookie. Did you know you could bet on games after kickoff? If by the second half it looks like you're going to lose your bet, you can always just take the other side at MyBookie. Join now and MyBookie will double your first deposit. Use promo code Detroit100 to activate the offer. That's promo code DETROIT100. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid.
Fellas, I want to tell you about a product that can improve your performance in the bedroom. And what better way to improve the quality of your life than to please the woman of your dreams? Blue Chew brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know they work. Blue Chew is the fast and easy solution for any man looking to enhance their performance and step up their game. You don't have to be one of those guys that finishes quickly, or you don't have to be one of those guys that, at the end of the day, regrets not having a great sex life. Blue Chew is prescribed online and shipped straight to your door in a discreet package, so no in-person doctor's visit, no waiting in the pharmacy, and best of all, no more awkwardness. They're made in the USA, and since Blue Chew prepares and ships direct, they're cheaper than a pharmacy. Right now, we've got a special deal for our listeners. Visit BlueChew.com and get your first shipment free when you use our special promo code DETROIT. All you got to do is pay the $5 shipping and handling fee. Again, that's BlueChew.com, promo code Detroit to try it free. Blue Chew is the better, cheaper, faster choice, and we thank them for sponsoring the podcast.
Oh my God!
Welcome, everybody, to the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 99, almost at the century mark, just about there. We've got a great episode for you. I'm your host, the Jock, Adam Straczynski. Doing it with me, as always, is the one, the only, the Doc. We'll get around to him in 1 second. I want to fill you in on what we're going to be talking about. We've got a WWE injury report. It sounds like a ton of superstars are on the shelf, as well as some shakeups with the writing team for WWE. We're going to fill you in on all of that news. We're going to give you our predictions for Clash of Champions. I've got some work to do as the Doc has a slight lead on me, as well as talking about some AEW news. And, of course, we're going to review Raw and Smackdown. What's up, cuz? We've got the Doc on the line. Doc, what's good, buddy? How you been?
You know what I'm doing right now?
Hopefully you have pants on, because I know I don't.
I'm enjoying a little bit of the bubbly. You know, you got
That has been so good. That has been so good. It has turned into a instant meme. It's great.
It is unbelievable. I seen a meme that had all of the sayings over the career of Chris Jericho. And cause really, at the end of the day, the WWE messed up letting this guy go. I mean, he's all personality. You could have used him in so many ways. I mean, the guy got that phrase over, and it became a #1 trend on Twitter worldwide. I mean, I saw so many creative movies. I saw songs. I did one. I thought it's funny. I think that a guy like that who has the ability to really make anything over, and you let him go. I mean, he was really offended that when he was in an angle with Kevin Owens, that he was put second on WrestleMania. You can't do a legend like Chris Jericho that way. He's a legend. Everything he does is great. You lose a belt, no problem. You make a video, it goes over. You just are off the cuff celebrating, and you have a catchphrase. Now, you know, you can sell shirts. He can go around the country for the next year just putting a little table and just saying a little bit of the bubbly, and he's going to get a pop. Chris Jericho, man, is a legend, and I just can't wait to see what his career in AEW is going to look like.
Yeah, he's a stud, man. Chris Jericho, I mean, the guy took a scarf and he took a list and he got those over. I mean, what are we talking about here? He got those over, and dude, he's one of my favorites. Like, honestly, he is my favorite wrestler of all time. I think he's great. Raw and SmackDown both miss him, I think, just a little bit. Raw was pretty good this week. Let's talk about that opening segment and who the big winners are and why they were the big winners. So you've got Stone Cold moderating Seth Rollins, Braun Strowman, and their contract signing. AJ Styles comes out, kind of messes it all up with the OC. For me, I think heads and tails, you see the caliber of talent that Stone Cold Steve Austin was and is. And you see the caliber of talent that AJ Styles is, because those guys really stood out in this segment, while a guy like Seth Rollins, who's holding the title, and a guy like Braun Strowman, who's trying to get to that level, are just kind of standing there. They almost feel still. Stone Cold Steve Austin has a way of communicating not just with the crowd, but of getting himself and getting anything else over, while AJ Styles has a great ability to play with the crowd and get himself over.
Yeah, I thought he was used properly. I mean, you're at the Garden, you want to create memories, but the problem is you basically have the guys in the main event that are kind of irrelevant. I know they were needed to kind of set up the main event, but the real great part of that whole intro, even though it was 20 minutes long, was the interaction between AJ Styles and the OC and Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was great. You saw all the heel tactics by AJ Styles, and it felt like a big-time moment. And I think that even though AJ Styles is established, for him to play off of Stone Cold Steve Austin was awesome. To hear the word asshole, to see the crowd just what everything AJ said. It felt like a big-time moment, and yeah, it sucked. It was at the expense of the guys that are going to be fighting for the Universal title. But at the end of the day, they need to work up to that, and it's nice for them to see it live and in person.
Yeah, no, and you're right. AJ Styles showed why he is a primetime player. I think those two guys really overshadowed the two dudes who are going to be in the main event for this upcoming pay-per-view. And the thing is, I think WWE has built their guys to basically be cookie cutter. You know what I'm saying? AJ Styles, you have to remember, isn't a WWE guy. He's not a WWE talent. He's not homegrown. Seth Rollins isn't necessarily homegrown, but he went through NXT. He went through the process. And Braun Strowman is a homegrown cookie cutter type guy. And I really like Braun. I think Braun's got a ton of personality. I think he's a huge personality. He's just, at this point, WWE likes what WWE likes. And I think you can see when you have a talent like Stone Cold and you have a talent like AJ Styles, it doesn't always work. You have guys who kind of go against the grain, and when they go against the grain, they're way, way more over. I thought we had a really beautiful tag match between the WWE Four Horsewomen. My question to you, though, is, did WWE screw up by having Becky Lynch and Charlotte get the win over Sasha Banks and Bayley? Because I think you could have had Becky and Charlotte lose. Remember, they're not supposed to like each other. You could have them lose. They don't need to operate as a cohesive tag team. Whereas Sasha and Bayley, if you have them two get the W, I think it creates more momentum for their badass heel faction that they've got going on right now.
See, I thought that match, the mistake was not putting it in the main event. It was awesome, hard to follow. I mean, how do you follow a match like that? The ladies all put everything into it. It carried the segment. It was awesome. I don't care. Me personally, I don't mind who went over. I just felt like, you know what, at the end of the day, they put on a great match at Madison Square Garden. I just thought that they probably deserved the nod to be in the main event, because a 10-man tag just really, at the end of the day, didn't do the job because the crowd was chanting CM Punk. They weren't into it early on.
No, yeah, you're right. And that sucked. I just, for me, my big issue with this entire match, right? So not just the placement, because these girls are going to tear the house down. So not just the placement, but I think the big issue was who won, because we're now headed into Clash of Champions where both Bayley and Charlotte and Becky and Sasha are gonna link up here, and I think it would have meant more, and it would have helped get this story over a little bit more if you have the heels win and you show that there's a little dissension between maybe Becky and Charlotte. There's no reason for them to win. They're not supposed to like each other. I don't get that. Baron Corbin is going to be king of the ring.
No doubt. It should be. And
right?
It's the right call. It's the right call.
Right? It has to be.
Yes.
Has to be. I think it's the right call as well. I think at this point, he is the heel that everybody loves to hate. He had went away and then he has come back, and him coming back, he looks so much better. We talked about it, I think, 2 weeks ago on the podcast. He looks so much better now that he's come back. He looks like he's in much better shape. He looks, just his entire gimmick, King Corbin, is going to be fantastic. The main event I thought was good. I thought Cedric Alexander being the big winner of the main event was good, because I think it's a big win for him. Like, he was the one who got the pin in the 10-man tag, and there was a ton of meat in that 10-man tag. Overall, I thought Raw was a very good episode.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Could it have been a little bit better? Yes, but I'll say this. You got a star now in the making, and I think what WWE is doing now is using their stars that they have to establish new stars, which is good. And you look at Buddy Murphy, and on this week's Raw, who would have thought that in the main event at the Garden, Cedric Alexander is getting a pin over AJ Styles? This guy's put in the time. He's been wrestling for over 10 years. This guy is somebody that is now over with the crowd, and he's already been early on now in his time on the main roster in some nice matches with guys like Drew McIntyre, AJ Styles, and for him to close out the show with the pin, I think it speaks to where the company sees him, and that's a guy that, you know what, when you watch what he does, fluid in the ring, tells good stories, very entertaining. So I'm very happy that Cedric Alexander, even though I'm a fan of AJ Styles, I just thought that match, for what it was okay. It was nice to see Cedric go over.
Yeah, I think it's a big win for a guy like Cedric Alexander. And again, you're giving another guy the rub. This was probably one of his biggest wins at a historic venue like Madison Square Garden. So what it means to WWE, I think it was big time. I thought it was awesome. Let's transition over to SmackDown. Undertaker opens the show. He gets interrupted by Sami Zayn. What did you think of all of this, especially when you compare it to what Stone Cold did the night before?
Well, I know that The Undertaker...
I'm just going to interrupt you. It felt flat.
Yeah.
It felt flat.
I was trying to...
It felt unnatural. Don't try to sugarcoat this. Don't try to spit shine a turd. I didn't think it was very good. I love The Undertaker. This wasn't very good, and it didn't hold a candle to what happened the night before.
Yeah, it's just, especially when the guy that's going to interrupt him is Sami Zayn. You're like, anybody else.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. It felt like it could have been so much more. And I thought it was weird that you would have Undertaker open SmackDown. Why not maybe save this for later in the night? Normally Undertaker closes the show. And as this was opening, I was like, oh, cool. Undertaker gets to go home early. That way he can get, home and get to bed before his bedtime. So that's cool. But it felt like a very disjointed segment. I didn't really like it. It didn't make sense to me, especially when you've got a guy like Stone Cold doing what he did the night before. It felt disjointed is the best word I have for it. It just didn't feel natural. Do you like Nikki is the ugly girl and Mandy is the beautiful girl angle for this little build that they have, for this little tussle between Fire and Desire and the WWE women tag team?
There's a lot of angles in terms of the women that have fallen flat. This one has the potential to go a lot of different ways. I know potentially some people might find it a little bit cliche and stuff like that, but I'm interested, and that's the result of these ladies' hard work. I'm interested to see where this plays out.
See, for me, I just feel like it's a tasteless WWE Vince McMahon angle. This screams Miss Piggy to me. When you had Mickey James being referred to as Miss Piggy, this is Vince McMahon all day. This is his bit. It's his gimmick. I think what happens is he ends up falling in love with the way some of these female wrestlers look. And yeah, Mandy Rose is beautiful, right? She is what she is. I follow her on Instagram. She's great. Sonya Deville, I find to be very attractive as well. And Alexa Bliss is very attractive. Out of the four girls in this, Nikki Cross is the least attractive. That's fine. You don't have to make her out to be the ugly duckling or make her out to be the ugly girl. I think that's tasteless. I think it's tacky. I think she's probably the best wrestler out of all of them, honestly. You know, if you were to put them in the ring and make them go head to head, she'd probably wipe the floor with all of them. This is a storyline that is straight up cut from the 90s. And it is straight up Vince McMahon all day long. I hate it. I think it's garbage. I think it's tacky. Am I interested in the girls wrestling? Yes. I think it's cliche, and I think it's shit. I just don't like it. This is Vince McMahon at his finest, where he boils down the women and the women's division to just being looks. We're past this, or we're supposed to be past this. And it just screams of days of yesteryear, and it drives me nuts. Have you bought into Eric Rowan being a legit badass? Or does he have to get the win this weekend?
Yes, I think he is a legitimate badass. He's done what it takes. And look, you got to remember that people before, when he was tagging with Luke Harper, they were badass. I mean, they were destructive. They were the tag team champions. So it didn't take all that much for me to believe in him. They just needed to shine the light on him. And I think if you give him the opportunity and he stays healthy, with his association with Daniel Bryan, it did what it was intended to do, which is help get the rub from Daniel Bryan. Now he can shine on his own and be a badass heel.
I think he is on the come up. I wouldn't say he's a legit badass yet. I loved him grabbing the jib cam and throwing it into Roman Reigns. I love him going back and forth with Roman Reigns. I think there was a small child that got maimed when him and Roman Reigns were fighting. I love it. I think it's great. He needs a signature victory, though, for me to buy in. If he is just going to be fodder for Roman Reigns this weekend, it totally takes everything that has been built up and just kind of crumbles it up and throws it away. He needs a signature victory. And I think if he gets it this weekend, I think we're talking about a new primetime player. And again, you took guys and you gave another guy a rub and you built a star. Because before this, who was Eric Rowan? He was just a heavy for Daniel Bryan, or he was the heavy for Bray Wyatt. You know what I'm saying? That's what he was. There's a legit shot here for WWE to create a new star, and I'm looking forward to that. Who has more fire headed into Clash of Champions? Is it Baron Corbin, or is it the guy who was fresh off of 2 out of 3 falls, beating the best in the world, Chad Gable? I'm so interested in who wins this King of the Ring match, and I don't know if there's a right answer. I think it's going to be King Corbin, but man, Chad Gable has come out of nowhere and looks so good.
See, I wouldn't say coming out of nowhere. It's just another guy. Remember, the WWE has the most talented roster. The problem is they don't know how to use them. So a guy like Chad Gable, I mean, you wouldn't be surprised if in the next month when EC3 comes back, potentially that maybe he could be highlighted. They have a bunch of guys. The problem is there's only so many spots. But when you've given Chad Gable the opportunity, he's done well. Been in a couple tag teams, has won titles. He has the respect of Kurt Angle. So I think the WWE, you got to remember now, guys that have been performers are now working backstage. So you know guys like Kurt Angle, Jason Jordan, they're in the ear of management going, this guy Gable can wrestle, give him the opportunity. And then the other wrestlers realize it too. I'm sure they've asked AJ Styles, what's it been like to wrestle Chad Gable? And everybody that's in the ring with him says the same thing. Dude can wrestle. Now we got to work on the entertainment side of it and get him over. Now they've shined the light on him and he's getting himself over, which is good to see. Is he at the level where Baron Corbin is? No. King of the Ring, King Corbin, all day long, baby. If it's not, it's a mistake.
No, I think I agree with you. What has to happen here, though, is they have to have a classic match. They have to have a classic match, and I don't mind if King Corbin wins, but you cannot. You need Chad Gable to shine, and then you have to be able to follow this up on Monday or on Tuesday with him having another great match. You can't just let him fade into the back because he's done such a great job, and the crowd's behind him. The crowd loves him. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things like you said, you have to work on the entertainment, and you got to figure out a way to help build this guy up, and you got to get him. He's another guy who needs a couple signature wins, I think. What do you make about how SmackDown closed? So Shane McMahon forced Kevin Owens to be the referee in his match against Chad Gable, and the hope was that Kevin Owens was going to help Shane McMahon get the victory. Didn't happen that way. Kevin Owens made it rough for Chad Gable, but in the end, Chad Gable gets the win. It's a big victory for Chad Gable. Shane McMahon then turns on Kevin Owens, punches the official. Remember, Kevin Owens has this massive fine because he beat up Elias, who was an official, and ends up firing Kevin Owens. And it's storyline firing, so it's going to be interesting how this plays out. As this was going on, my wife looked at me. She's like, "How many times can Kevin Owens get fired?" And I was like, "I don't know. Till eternity." So, what's going to happen here? I mean, how do you see this? How do you see this playing out? Because I think this right here is a prime way to write Shane McMahon off because he attacked an official. I think Kevin Owens, this could be the redemption story for Kevin Owens that we've all been kind of waiting for, because it really seemed like Kevin Owens was building to it. Then they turned him heel. And then after they turned him heel, he went back to being a face. And then he was building, and then it kind of stalled. And we're kind of at this point now where it might be the point of no return for KO. What's going to happen here? How do you see this playing out?
See, it's so tough, right? I just think that with Kevin Owens, he deserves to be in something bigger, right? He just seems to be going back down this loop again. It devalues Kevin Owens. I don't know how this is going to play out. I mean, I just feel like Kevin Owens is in the wrong angle right now. You know, you just got to push this guy to the moon. He should be right there interfering with Kofi Kingston. He should be maybe aligning himself with Randy Orton. He should be doing some more top-end stuff to continue, you know, this feud with Shane McMahon. It just seems like a waste of his time. Something that, eventually speaking, some angles should end, right?
Yeah, this might be like I'm kind of over this. I think we're all kind of over this. At some point, Kevin Owens needs to take that next step. But if he is fired, I don't know how he takes that next step forward. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do and how they build this going forward. I'm not sure what happens here. And all of us want Shane McMahon to kind of go away, which is weird because you remember when he came back, it was awesome. You love Shane, but heel Shane is not a fan favorite. And I don't know what you're going to do with Kevin Owens, because Kevin Owens as a face is definitely a fan favorite, but he was supposed to have gotten fired last night or the other night. So I don't know what we do there. So it's a little bit weird to me. Overall, I thought SmackDown was pretty damn good. I thought it did a good enough job. I didn't like the way it opened. I don't like a couple of the angles that are going on, but I think it was saved with Eric Rowan decimating Roman Reigns. I thought it was saved when you had Chad Gable pull out a massive win, and I think it leads you with a little bit of a hanging Chad where you don't know what's going to happen with Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon. So I thought there was a lot to like about this SmackDown.
It was a great SmackDown. I thought that the job was to entice people and enhance people's desire to watch Clash of Champions. Both shows did that. It was a great return to the Garden.
Yeah. Who do you want to give the point to this week?
Ooh. You okay with a tie?
I won't fight you on it, but I wouldn't be upset if Raw got the whole point.
Okay, you know what? In terms of the shows, when you have, you know, Stone Cold Steve Austin and, you know, you see in the crowd and everybody's wearing his shirt, the beer drinking, it was cool. So I'll say this. Give it to Raw.
I think that's probably the more accurate way to go. I think SmackDown was good. I think it held its own. I just think Stone Cold Steve Austin he can carry an entire 3-hour Raw, which is nuts, man. How do you not build a talent like that? You have all this talent on your roster, and then you have a guy like Stone Cold show up, and he just outshines everybody. And I think that's great. But I think it's also sad. It's a sad indictment where this company and this organization is. Let's transition into AEW, and then we'll do our predictions, and then we'll go through some quick notes. AEW is set to take to TNT coming up in October. Do you think AEW's bell-to-bell, sport-centric pro wrestling, do you think that's going to work? Because that's going to run totally counter to what WWE does. And in a recent interview, Cody Rhodes has stated that AEW will have longer matches, there will be more stories being told between the ropes, and they're not going to have that invisible backstage camera like WWE has. So what's going to happen is the guys will interact with the camera, and they're going to know the camera's there, but it's going to be almost like what you have when say you go to an intermission at a hockey game, and you're interviewing the player. The player knows the camera's there. He's talking to the camera. You're going to have situations like that. You're going to have it's going to be like a post-game press conference after a football game where you've got DeAndre Hopkins basically saying, "Hey, I didn't know I couldn't tackle like that. Maybe next time I'll play two-hand touch." You're going to have moments like that where you've got guys interacting with the camera and they know the camera's there. It's not going to be one of those things where it's almost like, oh, hey, we just happen to stumble upon what's going on behind the scenes. I think this is great. I think this is going to be more of a realistic, more gritty, more edgy. And for the hardcore wrestling fan, I think this is what they want. How do you feel?
See, I think what AEW has to do is establish themselves as different. And they don't want to be WWE with all the camera angles, with all the multiple shots, and to look like the WWE. So you have to position yourself to be different. In that vein, I'm curious to see what it looks like, because longer matches potentially cause some time issues, and that means what happens to the main event, because you don't want guys like the Young Bucks or, in the first TV show, a match like Chris Jericho to have 4 minutes. You know what I mean? So you got to time it perfectly. But what is wrestling? Storytelling. What match is a candidate for match of the year? Dustin versus Cody, and that was allowed to have time. So wrestling is, something where if you're able to do it, then you're able to draw people in and tell a story. So in that vein, I'm all for it.
Yeah, and the thing with the whole Dustin Cody match, which match of the year, probably best match of 2019, is there was an emotional edge to it. It wasn't just one of those things where you had the match and it was a long match. No. There was an emotional aspect to it. And I think that's what hooked everybody. And I think that's what was awesome about it. Speaking of Cody, he's going to be the guy who's going to challenge Mr. A Little Bit of the Bubbly, Chris Jericho, at AEW's next pay-per-view, which is going to take place in November. It's called Full Gear. Is he the right choice? And this is what AEW is doing, I think, a little bit different than WWE and what WWE has done forever. They are giving Cody the opportunity to challenge Chris Jericho because of Cody Rhodes' stellar pay-per-view record. He has one of the best pay-per-view records because he doesn't have a loss, and he has put on some of the best matches. So this is where the stats and the statistics come in with AEW and how they're going to do this, where if you win enough, you're going to earn the right to challenge for championships. I think this is a great nod to what they're looking to do. I think you're slowly incorporating aspects of what's going to make you different, and you're doing it at a time where it's just before you go to television, so your fan base can start to get a little bit used to this, and you're doing it in a way to build towards your first pay-per-view after you've already started TV. I think this is great. I think it's ingenious. And Cody Rhodes versus Chris Jericho, I think, is the no-brainer right way to go.
No doubt. I mean, it's marquee. Any feud you're going to put with Chris Jericho is going to get attention. Can you imagine the promos, the face-to-face meetings, the way in which they're going to build this? It's amazing. Both guys definitely have a history. And did you see Chris Jericho's first shot at Cody? He's like, I don't like your family. Your dad promised me stuff that's not happening, and now you've done it. I'm already in. I was like, man, Chris Jericho is believable. And this is just a selfie video that he's doing probably in front of his house. He can just turn it on and do it. It's awesome. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I think it's great. Chris Jericho is fantastic. He finds little bits and pieces, little nuances, and he makes them personal. And that's what makes you buy in. I look forward to this. I think it's going to be a fantastic match. Cody has been great since he's undid the chains that bound him to WWE. He's been fantastic. He has put on some incredible matches, and he has done some awesome things with some storylines. Chris Jericho, he's a GOAT, you know? He is one of the greatest of all time. This is going to be an incredible match. I think it's awesome. I love what the AEW is doing, and I can't wait. I can't wait for TV, man. I can't wait for October. I'm kind of rushing because I want this television. You know what I'm saying? I want this. I need to see this. I think it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be really, really good. This is going to be a really, really good storyline. All right, let's get into our predictions for this upcoming pay-per-view from WWE. Clash of Champions takes place this weekend. First match that we're going to discuss, Universal Championship match. You've got Seth Rollins, who's the champion. He's going to go up against Braun Strowman. Who do you see winning this?
You can't have Seth Rollins, walk away from SummerSlam defeating Brock now for the second time for a title and then lose to Braun Strowman. So it's going to be Seth Rollins in a great match.
Yeah, I'm looking at a classic here. It's going to be an agile guy versus a power guy. I think Seth Rollins wins this. I think Braun Strowman is going to go out there and put on a hell of a show. I kind of feel bad because Braun Strowman, every big title shot he has, he seems to lose. And I don't like that because at some point he's got to break through, right? He's got to win. I just don't think you take the belt off Seth right now. Raw Women's Champion, my girlfriend and Seth Rollins' fiance, Becky Lynch, will be taking on Sasha Banks. Who you have winning this one? Because, man, I like leading up to our predictions here, I've been going back and forth. Like, I don't want Becky to lose, but I think Sasha wins, and I think I think you can do a lot there. And I'm not sure which direction you go. I'm kind of on the fence.
Yeah. Who goes over? I don't know, because part of me says none of them go over. Who deserves to go over first? I mean, Becky's been the one taking the brunt of it. Do you actually let her go over on Sasha at this point in time? I mean, you could make a legitimate argument for both. I don't know. It's a super tough argument because either way, both of them are going to be hurt by losing, and both of them need this win. What's their best strategy? Their best strategy is to have, Sasha play the heel. And what do heels do? They get disqualified. So I think it's going to be a DQ finish. And so with that, it'll be Becky winning, but by DQ. She does not pin Sasha. That's the best way to do it. And then you got to have, round 2 and 3 in this contest. So the way it's going to play out is Becky Lynch is going to win this match, but by disqualification. Sasha will do something to cheat, hit her with a chair, lose her cool, have more interference, maybe add another member to her and Bayley's crew. I think it's going to end in a DQ. I don't see a pin. I don't see a pin or submission in this match. I think it's best for business not to.
Yeah, so I think you're right. And it's one of those things where I don't want this feud to end right away. I think this feud has some legs. This is one of those feuds where you can do 3 pay-per-views. I think you could probably get out of it. So it doesn't do anything for you to have Sasha win the title now. And because of that, I think Becky's going to win, but I think you're right. I think Sasha's going to do something just vicious to Becky, and she's going to get DQ'd. So give me Becky Lynch winning, but I see it similar to you. It's going to be a DQ. We have the SmackDown Women's Championship, Bayley versus Charlotte. Now, as this was kind of working its way through on SmackDown with Charlotte on commentary, I was like, man, Charlotte does deserve the belt. Like, Charlotte sold me on her having that belt. Like, Bayley doesn't deserve that belt. Charlotte deserves that belt. But I don't know if you want to take the belt off of Bayley right yet, because I think that plays into her storyline with Sasha. There's so many layers here. And this is one of the great things I think they've done with these 4 women. There are so many layers here that I'm not sure it serves you to take the belt off of Bayley just yet because of what she has going on with Sasha. But that being said, I feel like Charlotte sold me on her having the belt. Like, she is the bigger draw. I don't think that's even debatable.
Give me Charlotte.
So I was like, damn, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, give me Charlotte. Look, I know Bayley's the heel. Charlotte's the best in the world. I just think that right now she's not even in competition with the ladies. She's in competition with the men to be the best number 1 or 2 wrestler overall in the world. Her skill set is unbelievable. I mean, when you watch her, she's able to move around that ring, great psychology, great ring presence. You know, she's got the ability now to transition to being the it person in the entire company if this match can play off properly. Give me Charlotte.
I'm going to go Bayley just to go different than you, and that could really spell my doom here. I think Bayley goes all out heel in this match. I think her transformation becomes complete, and I think she beats Charlotte with some dirty tactics. I think Bayley ends up winning this match. Roman Reigns versus Eric Rowan. I said earlier I need Eric to get a massive win, and this would be the win that would help cement him. I'm going to go Eric Rowan in this. If he is just fodder for Roman Reigns, then I think WWE has missed the boat here.
Man, Eric Rowan. I kind of disagree. I think Roman's the it guy as well on the men's side. You know, he's been the one taking the brunt of the action. So what typically happens, you know, in a build-up, the heel's getting in all the work, the heel's doing all the things to the face, and then eventually at the big-time pay-per-view, you have the face win it. So give me Roman Reigns.
Nakamura versus The Miz. So this past week, Nakamura stood tall over The Miz this week on SmackDown. Because of that, I think The Miz is going to set a record and get his 9th Intercontinental Championship. Plus, I think that belt looks great on The Miz.
Yeah, he's been built up. Nakamura's reign has been positive, but I think that The Miz and Nakamura can extend their feud in a great match. And give me The Miz because of all his promotion. He's been saying it's time. 9th reign, Clash of Champions. Give me The Miz.
All right, so United States Championship. We've got AJ Styles as the champion over a guy who got a massive win this past week on Raw, Cedric Alexander. Who's going to take down this title? Is AJ going to retain, or does Cedric become your new United States champ?
Too soon to take it off of AJ Styles. I think that it's a great feud. You got Cedric pinning AJ on Raw at Madison Square Garden. At the pay-per-view, no. Mm-hmm. AJ Styles, baby.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think AJ Styles will retain. Look, Cedric Alexander got a huge pin on Raw. I don't think it happens again. And whether by hook or by crook, I think AJ Styles will retain his belt. So give me AJ Styles here. Raw Tag Team Championship. Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman going to be doing a lot of work on this pay-per-view. So hopefully their cardio's up. They're going to be taking on Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. I'm going to go Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman here. I don't think you take the belts off them.
Oh, no, you got to set up their anger. You got to set up the night's match. No. And new tag team champions, the perfect fit to hold the belts for a while. Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler can really have some great feuds and really elevate the tag team division against the OC, against the Viking Raiders. They can go up against the Usos. They can go up against really anybody, and it can be an interesting feud. So give me new tag team champions.
You know what? I think you're right, because as you were talking about this, something clicked in my head. There was a story a couple weeks ago about how Paul Heyman sees Bobby Roode and how he wants him to be more of a primetime player. And this was one way he could do it and get a belt on him. So I'm going to switch what I have here. I'm going to go Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode because Paul Heyman sees something in Robert Roode, and this is the way he can do it. He's using Dolph Ziggler as a catalyst for this. I think you're right. Don't be surprised if there's some hard feelings here after one of these guys beats the other guy for the world championship. So I'm gonna side with you here and change what I have. SmackDown Tag Team Championship, the New Day versus the Revival. Do the New Day retain their championship, or are the Revival SmackDown champions for the first time?
Man, this is the hardest decision probably on the card. I like the New Day. I like the Revival. I like their recent matches with Randy Orton and how they've kind of continued their heel work. But at the end of the day, I don't see the New Day dropping the title at this point.
I'm going to go opposite of you, and I'm going to say the Revival win this. You talked about Randy Orton a little bit. I can see Randy Orton interfering just a little bit in this match and helping the Revival. I think it would be good for the Revival as well to get a big win here. You don't need the belts on the New Day. The New Day are made. So I think the Revival win this. We've got a couple that are totally different on this one. So either one of us is going to be really happy or one of us is going to be really sad. We've got the Women's Tag Team Championship match. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, they're the champions. Will they hold serve against Fire and Desire? Who do you think wins this?
Yeah, the champions retain. It should be a good match, but, depending on where they put it, one in which if you're prone for a bathroom break, you can, not really care about this one too much.
Yeah, I think Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross retain. I don't know why you would put the belts on Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville right now. Cruiserweight Championship, we've got Drew Gulak, and he will be defending against Humberto Carrero and Lince Dorado. So it's a triple threat match. Who do you think wins this one?
I think with all the changes that might happen at Clash of Champions, keep it on the title holder, Drew Gulak. It's all good. Drew Gulak all day.
Yeah, I've got Drew Gulak retaining his belt. I don't know why you would take it off him right now. It doesn't make sense to me. King of the Ring Finals. This is probably one of the more interesting matches, and we've gone back and forth on it. And I think I know where you stand. It's probably where I stand. I wouldn't be upset if Chad Gable wins, but I think it's going to be King Corbin.
All day. We've been talking about it every podcast. King Corbin.
Absolutely. All right. So just to remind everybody, Doc has a slight lead on me, 11.5 to 11. So I could either, with all these different matches we have, I could either wipe the floor with him, or he's going to extend his lead and embarrass me some more. This is going to be an interesting pay-per-view. There's a lot to be gained here, or there is a little bit to be lost here. So we're going to see how this works out. Going to be interesting. Are you ready for this week's news and notes?
Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. So much to get to.
All right. So Ric Flair has signed a new endorsement deal with Adidas and has left the Jordan brand. Ric Flair is also threatening legal action against the WWE if Becky Lynch continues to use the phrase "the man." We're going to have to monitor that situation to see how it kind of continues to play out. With signing the endorsement deal with Adidas, he says he wants to make it the premier brand. He wants to help elevate it and do basically what he feels he did with the Jordan brand. So it's going to be interesting to see Ric Flair running around in some Adidas gear. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with him and Becky Lynch and WWE. WWE is shaking up their creative team as the Raw lead writer, Ed Koski, has been moved from SmackDown to be the Blue Brand's new lead writer, and he will work under Eric Bischoff. It also appears Ryan Ward will be taking some time away for a short period of time due to unspecified reasons per WWE. Basically, what that means is he's being phased out. He's going to be sent away. The new lead writer of Raw under Paul Heyman will be Jonathan Beckenstrom, who has been with the company for 6 years now in various writing positions. He is also the former lead writer of 205 Live. Real quick update on WWE's injury report. Carmilla is dealing with an injury. Samoa Joe, EC3, Heath Slater, and as we know, Elias has a broken ankle. So all these guys are out with injuries. Nobody has a specified time for their return. Carmilla's, I think, might be something a little bit more. I'm not sure if it's just injury related or if there's something else going on. I haven't been able to really nail down details on what she's exactly dealing with, but the way the report goes, it sounds like it could be something else. So my own speculation, I'm not sure if it's a drug or alcohol problem. I'm not sure if it's just a really bad nagging injury that she needs some time away from the ring, or if it's something as simple as a shoulder or a knee injury. It's the way it was written. It was very, very vague. Me, myself, speculating, it sounds like it could be more than just a knee or a back or a hip injury. So we'll have to monitor that. And I'll keep you guys updated in the coming weeks. And that's this week's wrestling news and notes.
Major show. Love recording this podcast each and every week with Adam. If you agree or disagree with anything that we've said, head on over to the Flick Chat application. All you got to do is go to your favorite app store and download Flick Chat, and then you'll enter Detroit Sports' newest headquarters, where we talk about professional wrestling, all the news, all the games that take place in the world of Detroit sports. If you're a fan of hockey, baseball, football, college football, we're talking about it. You can create your own forum, and we can get into great debates. We'll definitely be chatting during Clash of Champions. We hope to find you there. Flick Chat is Detroit Sports' newest chat application. It's also a place you can download all your favorite podcasts directly. Ours is there, right there in the group. All you got to do is push play, and all the podcasts available on Detroit Sports Podcast are there. Also, support those who support us. Go follow Dennis Farrell on Twitter at Dennis77Farrell. His Wrestling Perspective podcast is back with a new co-host, Eli Drake. All the insights you need to know regarding the NWA and thoughts and reactions to professional wrestling are provided in depth by Dennis Farrell and Eli Drake, a great podcast, along with the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast, available on our network. Follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Thank you guys so much for finding us this week. I look forward to breaking this all down next week.
Absolutely, man. This was a fun time. Great podcast as always, sir.
Oh